Good evening, GGL. Welcome to another edition of the Mac and Moose Show. Mac, how are you tonight?
Doing good. Just got my first Canes little trip here in, so place is a madhouse. But other
How
than
long
that,
did
doing
it?
great. We did the pre-order, so wasn't bad. But they did have the Perrysburg police out there, basically escorting everybody.
Yeah, I
So
went.
didn't think that was gonna happen, but
I went last night and I waited hours, so not worth it.
no, mobile order. But
That's
I know we got a jam-packed show here. We'll have Logan on in a second, but let's just jump into the scores here.
sounds good.
All right. So first game up, me versus Teddy. It was brutal.
Yeah, it. I think the stuff that we were talking about, how his team was, kind of 4-3 with not a lot of points for, and he came out this week and uh, his quarterbacks kind of proved they are, and then Christian McCaffrey throw a touchdown, and obviously rush for a touchdown. I believe he's the third guy in NFL history to do that. Do you know who the other two are, Mac?
I do not know. Well, I know I do. Well, because they were talking about it. LaDainian Tomlinson was the last one.
Yep. One guy before that was Walter Payton.
Ooh, it's good company to
So
have.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was a good week for him. Your team put up over 100 points, but unfortunately, not having a second quarterback to play,
Yeah,
and Aaron was
Tannehill.
still he's killing you, man. Can't get over 20 points.
It's still it's very very difficult watching him play right now, especially being a Packers fan. But yeah, having Tannehill go down just before basically game time there. I think it was the night before. I had literally no one to put in there, so threw in Chris Olave. He got me some points, but yeah, like you said, I need another quarterback. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey, basically his whole team just destroyed me. Luckily, I had AJ Brown to kind of offset that Jalen Hurts, but
Yeah, he had a
besides
game.
that, it was brutal. It was just an ass whooping. Really didn't enjoy it, but gonna have to bounce back and see what we can do this week. Next game up, we got Carter versus Justin. Another really strong East show up here.
John, huge win for him. Obviously, uh, you know, I think a lot of us have left him for dead based on the fact that he trades and doesn't make a whole lot of moves, but he got a win when he needed to. On the other hand, you have Carter, who is sinking fast and quickly, and I know we'll talk more, so I won't spend too much time. But yeah, his team sucks, and Justin's team, much needed win. Congrats, you are one step closer to avoiding shell around. It'll be very interesting to see how he manages moving forward. Will he, play the hot hand with Stafford and Jones? Will he go about that? But yeah, big J Mac, and congrats, Justin. Your best players. Your great team you got.
Yeah, Nick Folk. I did notice that what I put in here. He had almost Carter had almost 8 players combined get outscored by a kicker this week. So just really really tough. But I did find an interesting stat going through some of the stuff today, which was only last year. But Dylan D Train set a record with 9 straight
Yeah.
losses. Is Carter going to be able to do it? I think he's on to 5 or 6 now.
And here's the other thing. If I remember correctly, and we get this confirmed by Dylan, he started the year like 2-0 or 3-0, or like I know he had a winning record, went on that losing streak, and Carter is kind of stepping in his shoes. It seems like this year, and some of the trades he's just digging his hole a little bit deeper. So I mean, the crazy thing is if Kirk Cousins doesn't have days, Kirk was flirting with the worst server in league history. So yeah. Again, we'll talk about Carter. I know more, so let's focus on J-Mac for now. Good win, Justin. And we'll.
Yeah, no, it was a good win. His team's starting to show up a little bit. I do like that. It's just going to be tough with Tom Brady and jumping. I forget what his second quarterback is besides Daniel Jones, but uh,
Stafford.
Stafford. That's right. So they're going to be jumping between those two. And again, I just don't like having the two wide receivers that the Cortland Sutton and Jerry Judy, and then the MVS and Juju Smith-Schuster. I just if you had someone strong there, I know Romeo Dobbs, he's going to be getting some more touches, especially with Watson going down again and everyone else on that Packer receiving core going down. So just gotta, I think that's really the main point right there is the wide receivers for him.
Yep, absolutely.
Next up, we got Walt versus Logan. Not a bad matchup. Very, very tough loss for Walt, but um, Lamar, yeah.
Yeah, Walt
I'm sorry.
obviously was the one that made the big trade and got Lamar Jackson. So this was opportunity to kind of play him, and I think Walt's team is still in at 4-4 once he gets all of his guys from buys. On the flip side, our for tonight, Logan is has a great record at 6-2, has the most 4, so his team is really humming at the right time. He's when he gets Chase back, if he gets Chase back, he'll have 3 really strong, which I think it's been proven that there's only one way to overcome bad quarterback this league, and it's with 3 really, really, really good receivers. And that's kind of what Walt has actually done on the flip side. Is Walt's all good receiver, so Walt kind of got beat by his own. That's the fact that Hopkins, Evans, and Tyreek Hill are 3 really good receivers, and yeah, Logan's team's rolling. But the one thing Logan's team, Mac, and I don't know if you look at this, is his quarterbacks are not good. Like
No.
Carson Wentz, obviously is hurt; he's not very good. Trevor looks terrible, and then I know Geno Smith is a, but if Geno Smith is your best quarterback, and we'll have Logan go through this, but that's the thing I'm worried about a little bit is can Logan continue to win despite having I would say he doesn't have a single quarterback that I would consider. I know Geno Smith is in the top 10, but I don't think he'll finish the season as a top 10 quarterback. So I guess
I don't think so
but
either.
so his quarterbacks are something to look at.
No, I think so too. But again, with Logan, I know we'll have him on here, but with his team, it just seems week to week, it's probably going to be different. The guy's just not happy with any team that he gets, so it's just that's where he's addicted to trading. The guy is dying for it. He really he loves it. But well, we'll have him on. We can talk a little bit more about that here in a second. But good
Sounds
win.
Good.
Nice, tough.
Good win, Logan.
Tough matchup for him. Next up, we got Eddie versus Josiah. Another real close one in the old East. Very strong, but my monitor went out a second.
You good?
Yep, good to go.
All right. Yeah, so the one thing I want to say about Josiah is obviously a big win for him, but there's been versus West obviously rivalry. Points the East continue to make is that Mitchell, up until this week, was leading our and was kind of boneheaded decisions on his lineup. Josiah forgot to play injured guy. He's not always had 2 quarterbacks to play, and he didn't even know he started Renfro in this game. He actually thought he benched him. He was in my basement saying, "Yeah, I didn't play Hunter Renfro," whatever he said, and then boom, he looks at his team and he actually did play Hunter. So Josiah is I don't know what's going on with him. Him and Mitch riding this really strange wave where they really check their team or lineup, or they kind of just throw it all together, but it works. Kind of like Brett Favre. He was a gunslinger. When he was really, really good, he was great, but he was bad. He was terrible. So Josiah, keep riding it while you can. Very impressive start for you. On the other hand, he is who we thought he was. One common theme for me, Mac, this week was the pretenders and the contenders kind of separated. For example, week where Josiah did not have his starting quarterback. As far as his number one quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, he had Elliott's hurt, Thomas hurt, Waller's hurt. But he had a team where he could find a way to win. And the other hand, Eddie, who didn't draft depth, he hasn't managed his team very well. He doesn't have depth, and again, that's where these contenders separate themselves from pretenders. So that's kind of a theme I saw this week. I'm not sure if you kind of realized or looked at that, but yeah, big win for.
Yeah, and I with Eddie, it's just kind of some of the other dumb little moves here. You got Davis Mills throwing to Brandon Cooks. I guess he's going for that double doink or whatever, but you have DK Metcalf and Antonio Gibson sitting on your bench when those guys could have got you some points there.
Right.
But besides that, it's just there is no depth there. It's what the real problem is, and that's where we've seen with a lot of these teams already this year.
Absolutely.
Next up, we got Bill versus Kyle. Bill. Strong.
Put it on him. Yeah, Tua's back to his pre-concussion level. We talked about last week. Kyle offered this year with not only injuries, but just consistently playing teams off. And this was another great example of it. Tua and Waddle were just way too much. TN seems like he is going to be a Bill can continue to start. And I will say it's a little scary that Bill puts 4 and Jonathan Taylor and Justin Jefferson are under 10 points. So, he can't expect 15 from his kicker, from his defense, 14 from his kicker. But Bill, great win. And Kyle, unfortunately, bud, you are now in sole possession of Shadow Realm. I know you've been hit with injury bug. I know that some of that's out of your control. I know you've been trying to, but the time is now. Or we could back-to-back Ringler Bro Shadow Realm because has fallen into dead last place.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And hopefully, got lucky with Justin playing Carter, but yeah, that's a tough loss. But there are some positives coming out of his team a little bit. But really there's nothing there. Adam Thielen's not the same guy we saw last year. Lazard's been out. We need to take a look, and we got to try to find something that's going to support Goff and Dalton because they're not going to be putting up those points like every week.
Right.
So got to find something there, but we'll see. That sucks, but unfortunately, moving into that sole possession.
Yeah.
And lastly, we got the Moose versus Mitchell. Great win. The team looks fantastic.
Yeah, we've gone on a little bit of a winning streak here. Justin Fields, if he is truly going quarterback that put up 20 plus points, and Josh Allen, this obviously his worst week, but it didn't as Alvin Kamara kind of broke out of his touch slump. And yeah, I'm very happy with the way my team is playing right now. Move into first place in the West. Mitchell, on the other hand, his team kind of came on late, but it was early on in the Sunday that it was obvious that his team just wasn't gonna, be competitive. So for him, he'll get Cordell Patterson back. He's holding on to Odell Beckham Jr. Not sure if that will ever come to something, but Mitchell's definitely going to have to kind of prove it a little bit here, as he got lucky for a few weeks. I thought with some of his lineup this week, he did start an entire, but yeah, Devontae Adams getting him 3, Mark Andrews getting him 3. As we'll show in the standings, this West Division is really strong, really even. So yeah, this was a big matchup. I now own the tiebreaker over. We'll see if that comes into play for seed off berth, but yeah, it was an important win for myself. So
Yeah, no, great win. The team looks strong. Shit, your bench even looks really strong. I was taking a look at that yesterday. I mean, everybody looks really hot on that team, and it sucks because I'm playing against you this week. But moving into the standings here, all right, it's kind of evened out over here on the East. Josiah and Logan still fighting first position there. At 6-2. But besides that, 4 down there, you just got some pretty weak teams.
yep.
Walt looks good, but besides there, I mean, I'm down there in the Shadow Realm contention as well, not far behind these guys, but this West is a very strong competition.
Yeah, the West is again. I mean, it's impressive that you have that many teams at 5 and nobody's at 6-2. So the East definitely has two that have found a way to be a little bit. Again, it's more of a top heavy division over there with Walt is a solid 4-4 team. As we mentioned, the bottom three are very unactive right now. West, the way I see it is, I know you're 3-5. You know, you're you know, one win away from being back into contention. The way that I see the West is those teams are going to play each other twice, but I have to play Teddy still once. I have to play once, and obviously the other teams have to play each other. So they're going to end up being some losses that are handed out. And if you can find a way to get hot, I think the playoffs are still in your. And then the last thing I'll say about the standing is, I think it's in my opinion it's Kyle obviously is in last, but I still think that if you're if you're Carter, Eddie, or Justin, you have to really still be worried about it. But if I'm Kyle, you know, I've got to find a way to get some wins here. I can't rely on other teams to lose. It'll be really important if he can find a win a few games here, because if he can't, then it takes 1 or 2 wins to kind of, like as we talked about last week, put Kyle in a spot that he might be shut around games left in the regular season if this keeps this way. So
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing those guys over there in the East, it's a little bit easier. You got a couple of people just like Justin this past week playing Carter, where you're going to be able to get those leads. I mean, unless Kyle plays me a bunch, he's going against some pretty tough competition. So unfortunately, that's just the way the real cookie crumbles there. And so, if I can get my computer to work, it keeps going out here. But so I did put a little something together here. I didn't plan on doing this as just a shot, because I want to do it for a lot of teams here. I think it was a kind of neat idea, just kind of taking a look at teams. But this week, I'm going to do a little mix up here, but going to do a little Max Corner.
love the intro.
So for this one, thanks, appreciate it. For this one, this week, unfortunately, I did pick Carter for this. Wasn't trying to pick on him or anything like that, but I just wanted to break down kind of how the season's going so far. So just at first glance, his was kind of the worst downfall, so I kind of went with it. But week 1, you see Carter come out first of the draft, got his team already set up, loved it. Big win for him there. Then he goes up, wins again. I think he puts up 189 points, some very high numbers. And then we come into week 3, and this is where the real problems start to happen. He drops down, beat Eddie by 125 points. Lamar had 48 points. Derek Carr had 25. All around the league, he looked very strong for the first 3 weeks. And we take another dive down here. going to week 4. Week 4, the drowning begins here. He's not making over 100 points. He actually lost by 120 points, which is the amount that he's actually uh, either won by or has put up in the first 3 weeks. So it was a little tough. This is going a lot smoother if my my separate monitor would stay on. But from there, the drowning kind of gets a little bit better. You can see him fighting for air a little bit. He made a couple of changes. Brought in Romeo Dobbs. He's got some changes here, so he's working his way back up. Scored some more points, but here's week 3. He has not scored over 100 points yet. Still making those changes, and then another just deep fall down after trying to make some more changes to his team. It's just not happening for him. And then after week 7, it's starting to look a little rough. He brings in Najee Harris. He's got some people rocking there. So we think we're going to make a change for the better. Fucking thing won't go. My apologies. This is terrible. Big technical difficulties. From there, he's got his. It doesn't work out. He's losing against Logan. He put up 89 points. But this isn't where he really starts to panic. He's really starting to do it. He's now officially drowning here, going 3-4. And then we move into week 8, where he only puts up 56 points. He's completely changing his staff here. I like what he's doing a little bit, but at the end of the day, if I'm no numbers guy, I don't play the stocks really well. But if this was a stock and I was looking at it, despite all the changes that have been made to this team, I just don't think I would buy in. I just don't see anybody getting any stronger, and that's really what I don't want to touch on. I know this was a little rushed. My computer's really not working with me today, but I'm hoping to see some incline again after these upcoming weeks. I know he's made some big trades and he's looking to move forward with it, but judging by this team right now, I just don't see it happening, and that's going to be tough.
No, that was great.
Just
Yeah,
get out of that.
that was a great segment. As we talked about earlier, we wanted the Carter's team. And, I think a part of it is because Carter kind of put himself on a high level these last few years. He's been very consistent. And then, this year he starts 3-0 and 5 straight losses. And, yeah, he's definitely on a tough path. I think that highlighted it perfectly. And that was well done.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Could have put a little bit more effort into the presentation, but I just want to get my point across that we just need him back. I don't know what's happening here. I heard that it's because he's talking about having a baby, so his mind just might not be there right now.
Well,
He
that's
might be purposely shadow realming himself.
the point. And here's the other thing that here's where I think the fantasy gods are going to start down hard on him. So he was supposed to hang out with on Thursday, I think Thursday of last week, and it was obviously Baltimore versus Tampa. Well, he trades his Baltimore players, and he basically decides, well, I'm not going to go now to hang out with you because this game doesn't mean as much. I don't care as much. And then on Sunday, same thing. He basically makes a few excuses, says he's not going to come, says he'll try to come. Then we don't hear anything from him, and he basically is pulling the card play on Monday, and my team stinks, so I don't really want to watch my fantasy team. So I guess long is kind of getting the fantasy gods some reason to kind of shit on him a little bit because he's not with his team when they're going through some tough times. And I think his team needs is an owner that's kind of neglecting him. So yeah, rally around your troops and figure out a way to avoid, because that's kind of where you're headed right now.
Yeah, it's not looking good. But let me change this. Sorry, a lot of technical difficulties here in the first half of this show. Yeah, but no, it's just not looking good. But moving on, I don't want to beat him down too bad. I'm starting to actually feel bad. But unfortunately, it was the easiest one to pick, easiest downfall. So that's the first one I went with. But now we'll move into our lock of the week.
Yeah, the only thing Chargers team right now is unfortunately my lock. We are now under 500 season at 3-4. Decided to go with the over in the Miami. I believe I got it at 44. Just feel like the Bears have went ahead and traded most of their defensive players that are playing. Miami obviously has a very unique core that can stretch the field. I think the Bears' young secondary will get a little bit exposed. And on the flip side, I mean, as a Bears fan, Justin started to kind of look like maybe he could be the guy. They went out and got Chase Claypool as well as, or I should say that should give some extra confidence to the offense. So, yeah, I'm expecting the Dolphins to take business in this game, but the Bears to score enough, even if it is in guard, to cover the over. So Bears over 44, my lock of the week.
Very nice. And so now, moving into our guest, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding this man. There's been a lot of trades sent out by this man, but we're going to bring in Logan.
Boys, how you doing?
We can hear you tonight, so
Doing
that's
good.
a good start.
Yeah, connection. I bought like a 50-foot Ethernet cable, which runs from my first store all the way up to the loft, which is where I'm at right now.
Oh, yeah.
I have that connected into my work laptop, so
Nice.
important night.
Important night. Had to be on
Absolutely.
the show. Getting yourself rescheduled.
Yep.
All right. Well, Matt, do you want to start her off? I got a couple of questions. If not,
so Logan, obviously we're pretty far into the fantasy season. You've done a great job of planting yourself at the top of the East, and Mac and I each week come on the podcast, and we sometimes get owners upset as we just give opinions about where their team sits. So I think it's appropriate for you to kind of give me a breakdown of each team in the East. Doesn't have to be a long breakdown, but kind of what do you think about their team? What do you think about their so far? Obviously, yourself, you're at the top, but Josiah, who's also at the top of the East, kind of go through each team, just kind of give your general thoughts on so far.
Sure, yeah. And regarding Josiah's team, I actually have, when we kind of get to, I have a few things I want to bring up. I have some interesting facts I want to throw out there. But, yeah, Josiah's team is strong. I mean, when I first came into this league, I was a true believer of it's a quarterback league. But my mind kind of shifted. I kind of, now to me, it's kind of, you want two solid running backs, just guys that are going to come in there, have a low or a high floor with a high ceiling. I think that's the most important thing because, in essence, they get, if you think about it, the most chances outside of a quarterback of touchdowns, of either receiving or rushing, plus the additive of yards carried. So Josiah's team is tough. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. But I think, Burrow's going to come down to earth a little bit. Obviously, we'll see how. I didn't see what he did last week with Chase out, 17. So, and I thought, and I'll get more into this too. I'm sure that's another question, but that's part of the reasons I went out and got Chase. I thought that, hey, it may come down to me and Josiah. That's a little bit of a mitigant. If he's tossing tutties to Chase, I'm getting some of those points. It's kind of a wash. So, I think the biggest stories, and I'll touch on everyone's here, but the biggest stories with the teams are, you guys mentioned it, J-Mac's refusal to trade is just hilarious. Kyle, injury ridden. That sucks. He actually, I agree. He does have a really good team on paper, or drafted a really good team. But the biggest story, and Mac, shout out to Mac's Corner. That was a good bit. But yeah, Carter,
Thanks.
man. I mean,
Appreciate it.
talk about just fumbling the ball. That guy. No bueno.
Well, yeah. So speaking of Carter, so that was another question I had is, Carter, I believe it was morning, sends a text to the group, Chase on the block. And, like yourself, I thought it was a great opportunity to just, it's a team that has been playing up. Hey, maybe I can do a 2-for-1 or, improve his team. And then in the long run, if Chase comes back healthy, a top 5 receiver. So I texted him and CeeDee Lamb, who I wasn't willing to give up. He's my best receiver. But about an hour goes by, maybe even longer than that, and I text him again. What about this deal? Like, let's keep talking. And within 30 seconds, he had Chase to you. So, I mean, how did that kind of go down? Did he approach him? Just walk us through that landed you Jamar Chase.
Yeah. So I actually went back through the text thread, and this started. I initially approached him about Lamar. All of our trade talks started there. This was back on October 23rd. Long story short, he wanted too much. It wasn't worth it. There were some other trades kind of thrown there back and forth for the next couple of days. Didn't really work out. Kind of put on pause. And then I asked him, what would he want for Chase? And again, he came back with this an outrageous ask. He wanted, I forgot to add it here, but then he rebutted it with Chase for D-Hop straight up. And D-Hop, I mean, that's just too much to give up. D-Hop's a high floor, even higher ceiling. So then he said, word for word, I do Mike Evans for Chase straight up. And I actually didn't even see it till the next day because when he had sent it, I was blacked out for my birthday. So I woke up to that text Sunday. So he sent it Saturday. And I liked it, or I exclamation pointed it, meaning, yeah, I'm jumping all over that. And I actually didn't even text him back after that. I sent it. I canceled the trade. And then Carter, hey, man of his word. I said, hey, we still do that original deal, and he accepted it. So that's kind of how it happened.
Gotcha. Damn. So that trade dated back. Well, in a way, he's a man of his word, but in another way, you guys had a deal that was somewhat done. Still texted, which is fine. See if you get a better offer, but
yeah,
that's very interesting. Mac, what did you have for Logan? There's some things you want off your chest.
As we were staying with the trading strategy here, so there's been a lot of talk about your trading strategy, never happy with your team, constantly trading. What is misunderstood about your trading strategy, and why should more people listen to you?
Well, here's really what it dives into, and I'd like to address something up front here, and it's probably on everyone's mind. It's probably the elephant in the room, and it starts with a big fat S, and that's the spreadsheet. I actually haven't even used the spreadsheet since my trade with Eddie. So that's not to say it's not useful. I think my other trades in between have been just kind of straight up or whatever. But can you guys hear that dog?
Yeah, do you have a dog?
Yeah. I got really, really thin walls here, but no. So I was going to get into this later, but I guess I can. This would be a good time. So week 11, I have a brutal bye week. I think like both of my QBs are out. I think Hill might be out. I don't know, someone big. So a lot of the trades I'm sending right now are in preparation for that because I played Josiah that week. And this is where it gets interesting. I was actually talking to Walt this past weekend. I've beaten Walt both times now. Josiah beat me earlier, and Walt has beaten Josiah. Walt now plays Josiah this upcoming week. So if Walt beats him and then I lose to Josiah week 11, if all of our records somehow come together, or even if Josiah and I are tied, I don't know how that works out.
I think the next tiebreaker is points for.
Points for. Okay, well, I'm leading points for, so like that. But I hope that answers your question, Mac. It's basically, I'm looking ahead to week 11. I've got some bad buys. I got to try to do something there. So
you're not done with your team. So your team's still in the work in progress here.
look, I always, one philosophy I live by is that, you could be a master of your craft or whatever, but there's always room for improvement. So, I look at my team now. It's a beauty. It's elite. I really don't see anyone beating me. But it can always get better. And I had the assets. I mean, I got Foreman on my bench, Stevenson, Pittman, a few other guys. It's just, if there's a play there, I'm going to make it. That's the kind of guy I
Yeah,
am.
you can stop sending me that trash for Stephon Diggs.
Got it.
Well,
Or-
one thing that comes to mind, I don't know this because in the league when this happened, but when I drafted Kyle's team, won the championship, I think some of it maybe it was guilt, maybe it was wash away the fact that I drafted these players. But I remember that season he made a lot of trades, restructured his team, drafted the players that allowed him to do so. But by the end of the season, a lot of the players that I had drafted, and it still made it. He made so kudos to him. Some would say you're the same thing. Where again, we'll get into the whole. Did Seth have a rankings? Did he have that? But you've done the same thing. You were not physically at the draft, so are you maybe making these trades so that you can sleep at night a little easier, knowing that hey, I didn't draft.
Ooh.
But I trade them all away so that I can at least say that these guys. So I would like you to, number one, address that. And number two, let's talk about, was there, I'm guessing there, but, there's been some comments and some other things that let's just kind of get into that whole situation.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know when Mac plans to show it, but I brought the list to this. I came prepared.
It's
Throwing it
right
up
here.
now?
I will.
All right.
I'll throw it up. I'll throw it up right now.
Yeah, let's squash this.
Let me open this baby up here for you.
All right. So I asked for the draft board the other day. Hopefully you guys either could get it up in front of you or have some recollection. But, looking at the team drafted, it's literally player for player of who I wanted. Now, the only nuance, if you look at it closely, would be I have Najee above Henry there. And if you look at the draft, Henry was taken, what is that, 5th overall. Harris was taken by Bill in the 2nd round. So Henry before Harris. I can explain that. I actually had texted Seth, hey, change my list. I want Henry over Harris. I changed my mind. I didn't want Harris. So outside of that, you look at the players I have ranked and how I have them sorted and how the draft flowed. It's pretty much spot on. I mean, you guys even said it yourself. Seth was blacked out. So he at that point, he's just going straight off the list.
But he's not because you had
He wasn't.
Swift ranked ahead of Mixon. Came to Mixon, Swift. He took Mixon over Swift, and Swift was still on the board. So I get. So I'm not saying there wasn't a list. So kudos to you for having this, but Seth definitely went rogue at times because
Yes.
And this list is well put together.
I didn't catch that one.
Yeah, so that's a huge situation where I'm looking further into it. But I mean, and then I will be honest, I'm sure for Seth, and maybe could get on this podcast at some point. I'm sure for him it was like a show to kind of follow this all, and at some point I just had to go a little rogue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you did. That's great. But I think honest guy, Logan, I think there still has to be a part of you that is very happy that you have the team, but at the same time, you maybe made a few more trades than you normally would, and I don't blame you for this because you didn't necessarily sit in the boardroom, so to speak, and actually put these guys stickers on the draft. So you've been wheeling and dealing, and it's worked really. I will say one thing you've done, you've picked up a guy like Geno Smith and made him your franchise quarterback. So kind of like the Seahawks this year, by the way. Start the season, you didn't even like your team, right? Like I'm pretty sure all Seahawks fans didn't like their team. You didn't choose to not be with your star quarterback, just like the Seahawks did for Wilson to necessarily leave. I mean, I know they traded him, but that was kind of a divorce, so to speak. And here we are halfway through the season, and just you're in first place. It's been impressive. But no, I am happy that that's going.
I think you hit the nail on the head there.
But
yeah, I like the Seahawks comparison. I did hit my team at first, and obviously it's tough not to love now. So yeah, I'll give you credit there.
I also do want to show, since we have it up here, this is another thing that Logan sent over to make sure that we all knew that the last time he opened this was August 11th of 2022. So
Yep.
There you go.
I don't know if he just copied and pasted it into a new spreadsheet and then screenshotted this.
Dude, that's from Google Drive. I don't know how to do that. Come on, man.
But I have one more question here.
Bring him on.
With your newly acquired Commanders fan here, are you going to be continuing to be a Commanders fan, or now the Feds are involved, do you think that you're probably just going to let this one go and you're just not going to do that anymore?
100%. I stand by my team. Wentz, he stood by me apart from the last couple of weeks when he's actually been not on the field. But and that remains to be seen, honestly, if when he comes back, if he's even going to be a starter, because Heineke, they've won 2 straight now with Wentz gone. So I'm a little worried there. QB situation's a little dicey. But yeah, actually, I'm glad you asked that. I got a little something here. Matt, I want to thank you for this.
Absolutely.
This thing, I swear, I've been hitting the driver even further since I've gotten this. So, straighter and driver, or straighter and further. So,
now that you brought that up, and we didn't want to, there was some controversy around the fact that Josiah did it first.
yeah.
What do you? Any rebuttal to that?
Yeah, I just don't know what else I would get that I would actually have. Matt and I golf a decent amount. I'm going to see him this weekend. To me, I wasn't trying to hijack his idea. It's a great idea. Props to Josiah, but driver cover, that's his classic. I didn't really know what else to get.
I agree.
Keychain.
I agree.
Lanyard.
Absolutely. No.
Yeah, you should put lanyard
hell
on
of a
your
bet. Well, last thing I have,
Matt, you got it?
Yeah, I got one more.
Yep.
It was kind of what we talked about when we went over your team, Logan, is obviously you bought your great start. What kind of beer is that?
Garage beer.
What is that?
It's called Garage Beer. I'm going to bring it to the ceremony.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a Columbus theme.
All right,
Sorry,
back to the question.
No, that is cool, though. No, my question is, obviously, did a little bit when you talked about Josiah's team, who is, as of right now, your biggest competition in your own division. And his team is quarterback-driven. He's going to ride and die with 2 very strong quarterbacks. On the flip side, we talked about maybe a slight team is the quarterback play. With Wentz hurt, Geno Smith is, I think we can all agree, a good quarterback, but is right now the 7th ranked quarterback. I think I stay there. Maybe he, but who knows? And then who's your fill right now? It's Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, who you traded for. So, what the plans for the quarterback position? Are you confident that Geno? A lot of the talk in the NFL is he the guy? So is Geno the guy? Is Lawrence the guy where you're at, or is that a concern that you're going to?
No, QB. Well, 2 things. QB situation is rough. Is Geno the guy? for this team, yes, I'm sticking with him. You know, will he come back down to earth a little bit? Maybe, but to me, he could still be a 15 to 20 point quarterback each and every week, which is QB2, especially in this league. So, but I will go on record saying that, and this goes out to the league if you're listening. I am in the market for QB, and I have the assets to go after one. So, you know, I'm looking at, like I said, the Wentz situation is a little concerning. T. Law's just been, you know,
I can solve all your problems. I got Bailey Zappi, who's about to be named the starter, and so if you want to trade for, if you still have Tyreek Hill, I'll trade for that.
Is he actually going to be the starter? Mitch tried to trade me Mac Jones earlier.
I don't know if he's going to be, but Mac Jones is kind of not doing too well this season, so
Yeah, I want to stay
I
away
think
from
they're
that.
willing to start that up.
But yeah,
Any other questions?
I have a couple 2 bullet points here. We
Okay.
actually kind of already knocked one out, so that's there. Looked at a couple stats. One thing I did want to address, I wasn't able to do as much homework as I wanted to coming into this, but you know, I did want to go back to week 11. I was supposed to be on, I think, right that next week. Couldn't make it, so that's when Walt. Actually, I don't know if I had that order incorrect, but Bill just was on a rampage. I mean, just going, you know, shots were everywhere. And I don't know if you brought it up on there per se, but it's been brought up in the chat multiple times. The whole ETN thing. Now, I'll admit, dropping ETN was bad. At the time, I didn't think, you know, he's behind James Robinson, whatever. But I dropped him September 14th, which is basically week 2. I'm not sure when Bill picked him up. I think it was like shortly thereafter. But since then, Bill has gone 3-3. Of those 3 wins, one was against J-Mac and the other against Kyle. And the third one was actually against UMac. But, I mean, those 2 teams right there that I just named, I mean, what's that say? I don't think Bill's that good. I'm going to be honest. I think he's got weaknesses.
I don't know. I kind of like Bill's team. Bill's got a pretty strong one. I don't think if it comes down to it, I think Matt has probably one of the strongest teams in our division.
Yeah.
But I think Bill's up there for sure.
So, yeah. But the only other thing I wanted to bring up, and it's kind of, I thought of it. I was looking it up during your graphic, which was hilarious. But Carter. So Carter got married. I got it right here. September 10th, which was right after week 1. He then goes on to win. So he won week 1, got married, wins week 2 and 3. Since then, he's lost 6 straight, and he's projected to lose to Eddie this week. So I think, is Carter's head still in it? That's really the question. And I think he needs to take a deeper look in the mirror and kind of, figure out, is he that guy anymore? Because it's not looking like it.
I think he's trying at least. I mean, at least he is throwing out those trades. He is doing everything to make his team better. I mean, at the end of the day, he is putting in the work, getting players that need to be putting up points right now. I mean, that's the only really positive thing I have to say about it. But
Well,
I mean, at least he's trying.
With Carter, the one thing with Carter is, he himself as a non-trade guy, and usually his team's in a spot where he can just sit back, let everybody else trade, stay at the top of his East division, and make the playoffs. So he's not do this, and he obviously has botched it terribly. And it's now to a point where I think so dug deep where I don't think he knows what to do. Now, how he responds to that. Now, one thing I talk about, and you kind of gave me that idea when you were talking him not being in Logan, is so I would, let's go with 3 bottom teams in the East. Mm-hmm. So Carter, Eddie, and Justin, and then Kyle, who's last in the West. So teams, let's look at each guy and how they act if they got shut around. So let's start with Carter. Carter, we wouldn't hear from. He would never be active in the group chat. He would stop hanging out on Sundays and he'd just go off into dad. His lawn would look real good, and he would watch his Browns on Sundays. But he basically, for all intents and purposes, he would not exist in the league for a full year. Eddie I think Eddie would go one of two ways. He'd either get more involved in the priority to be like follow. He would basically like a league or a software where you could still follow the league from afar. He'd have weekly like rankings, or he'd drop off the face of the earth and he'd get into like fantasy baseball or something.
All right.
I think J-Mac, no matter what, will stay involved with the league if he's shut around. I think he'll be that guy that pops in here and out, kind of like that kind of that weird uncle that's like, "Hey, Logan sucks with you. Congrats, buddy!" Like, all right, dude, go get away from me.
Yeah, get out of here.
And then I think Kyle would like going at people hard in the group. The kind of right, like Deeds out of nowhere, a big like bitch about some stuff in the group chat, and then he'll kind of go about his week. I think that's kind of how I see the final, the fourth final. If you guys have an opinion on that or any differently, I think that's kind of a storyline to look at is kind of how you guys will react to the shadow realm.
I think you nailed it on the head there. I think that was a good interpretation, especially of Justin. That was perfect.
There is some, having been there myself, the inaugural Shadow Boy. There is some like bliss in it, and Deez is in that position now, and you just mentioned it of you just kind of get to watch things from outside the box, and there's really no repercussions of like if you say one thing now, it could come back to bite you. You could basically just take everything at face value and be like, that was a dumb trade, or your team sucks, and so that that part of it, which in its own sense is pretty awesome. But one last point I have to make here, and it's going off of if J-Mac does get shadow roamed. So the year J-Mac got shadow roamed, I mentioned this way back. He then came back to win it twice in a row. I was shadow roamed last year. I think I win it at least this year, but if history serves us or tells us anything, that's good for J-Mac. If he's shadow roamed this year, he's going to come back and get 2 more shifts. Now that's a small sample size, but
it's not bad.
Yeah, I did a lot of digging.
Good for Deeds too. Deeds back and chopping at the bit to get back into league. So
yeah, it'll be hilarious if Kyle does get shadow realm though. Just Deeds, or I'm sorry, Ringler squared shadow realm.
Yeah, definitely.
Whatever.
All right, going into week 9. So week 9 we got up here. It's going to be a fun week here. First off, starting off, I got the Moose Man. You're just going to have a win here. It's going to be pretty simple to walk through that. Seeing as none of my players besides Josh Jacobson this year actually decide to hit their projected points. Josh Allen's going to beat Josh Allen and destroy me this week.
You got me the first time, so I do hopefully have some revenge coming. But one thing is I am on a hot streak and hope it continues. There is more. It's going to end at some point. I'm definitely not looking past this week. So yeah, it'll be a very important matchup, it's a big one for
playoff seeding. Me going into the Shadow Realm contention. It's tough.
Bigger for you. If you can win this week, you're right. Pick things. If you lose, Realm is definitely a possibility.
Just fighting out here. Next up, we got Walt versus Josiah. I think that's going to be a good game. Josiah is missing Chubb and Pollard, and Zeke's already out, so he's missed him anyway. but there's no running backs on his bench, so all he has is
Oh.
Mostert, and he's going to need a big game from his quarterbacks.
So he hasn't picked up a second running back yet?
He, as of earlier today, he does not have.
Interesting.
I checked this morning. He does not have a running back right now. He does just have, I believe, he has either Pollard or Chubb in the lineup with just getting
Yep.
0 points.
You're right. And
But
he's not going to drop Elliott. He's not going to drop Michael. Not going to drop Pollard. He's not going to drop Waller. Not going to drop Ellinger. The only guy who could possibly drop is Chase Claypool, who just got traded to the Bears and almost automatically comes their number one. Maybe he'll drop. He's got Justin Tucker. He's not going to drop him, and he's probably not going to. So he needs Darren Waller to play. Maybe drop Hayden Hurst. But interesting. I'm glad you brought that up, Mac. That'll forward.
yeah, but right now he does have the Burrow-Hurst connection going on, so he does have that little thing going. But besides that, Walt's team just looks so dominant. I think Walt takes this one.
Yeah, a big Walt fan this week. I need him.
Yeah,
Need him
that's
pulled
big for
through.
you. That'd be a big win for you.
Next up, we got Logan versus Justin. I think Logan, you take this pretty easily.
Yeah, I don't even have a defense
unless you have some crazy trade that you put in through the next couple of days.
You don't know.
Yeah, but Justin has Sutton out, Judy out, Dalton Schultz, and Danny Dimes are all going to be on bye.
Yeah.
I don't see Stafford and Tom having great games. And then you're gonna have
They play together, don't they?
you're gonna have Juju and
That's interesting.
yeah, they play against each other.
Yeah, Stafford. And
So that's so maybe you have Romeo Dobbs. He's playing Detroit, so who knows? He might be getting some points here this week. But besides that, I think Logan takes that pretty handily.
Yep.
And then next up we have Teddy versus Bill, which was going to be my game of the week, but I have been picking a lot of West games. So I didn't do that, but Bill's going to be missing Kittle, Watson, and Brissett. But of course he has Tua and ETN. I heard Jonathan Taylor might be doubtful for.
Yep.
Yeah, he might be doubtful for Sunday. But then he has Jefferson, Godwin, and Waddle still. Teddy is missing McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, Brandon Ayuk, and Kenny Pickett. So that's tough, but I think Bill takes this one.
Yeah, that's a huge matchup. That is because me, Teddy, Bill are all now playing each other a second time, and it come down to seeding. So I don't remember who won the first matchup against these two, but yeah, this will be a big matchup in the West.
When I heard Keenan Allen also is questionable for Sunday as well.
Yeah,
so that's up in the air, but
I think he's likely not to play. Like it's not. What is that? Doubtful? I think it's doubtful.
What was his ankle injury?
Yeah, he had an ankle. I think he retweaked it again at yesterday's practice. They said
guy's just a Band-Aid.
So yeah, that's tough. And lastly, we have Kyle versus Mitchell. Kyle needs a win here. He needs a win, and he needs Justin to lose. But he does have Dak Prescott and Saquon both on bye this week.
Yikes.
But Mitchell is missing Jimmy Garoppolo, Russell Wilson, and Amari Cooper.
That's tough.
So it's going to be a tough.
And Mitchell has like a lineup change. So God knows that if something else happens, he's probably not lineup this week. So
and let's hope he watches. Let's hope he watches this or listens to it before tomorrow or Sunday. But yeah, it's going to be tough.
Yeah,
but I think I'm going to take Mitchell in that one. I think though.
Yeah, you gotta until Kyle can prove it.
Yep. And now for our game of the week. a straight barn burner. Carter versus Eddie.
Wow.
Best East matchup on the board. This is going to be a barn burner.
Yeah. This is. So is that 82 points of actual projection? Like, has he like got backups in, or is
So he's got that was again. So these are from Tuesday. So these projections are from Tuesday. I couldn't put together the
his
new
projected
ones.
team?
Yeah.
Because his bench is Dobbins. So Carter's bench is going to get 0 because he's hurt on IR. Bateman 0. Gallup, Najee, Debo all on a bye. The only guy he could play on his bench, Benjamin, who is projected 5 points. So that's Carter's team this week. That is a legit roster.
And his boy Cade York is on a bye.
Yeah.
So that's Eddie's only missing a defense this week on a bye. So if Herbert has a good game, I think Eddie takes it.
Carter's actually projected
Eddie.
80 now, not 82.
Well,
Yeah.
So it's going down.
Yeah.
taking Eddie and Eddie.
Right.
This is now another time that Eddie's faced the team because he faced Walt, all those guys in the bye. So Eddie's getting another week where, and all things considered, it's basically a free win as long as his team shows up. So yes, I'm.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take Eddie on this one. Logan?
Eddie. Oh, yeah. Everything about
Carter
is just trending
Yeah,
that way.
I feel terrible because I feel like this whole episode has just been ragging on Carter the entire time. It is what it is, I guess.
It's the way she goes.
Yeah, sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. But that's it. Oh, I forgot. Let me pull up the little standings here. So we both got the win last week. You moved to 5-1. I'm 3-3. And Walt got the win as well. So he gets one. We only have 2 losses this season, one being Bill and one being Carter in our picks. But that's the way it is. There are some works in for a prize at the end of it. We are going to be going back around and getting some other people. I think I'm going to start kind of putting it out there for everyone to kind of choose weekly. So that way I can kind of speed it up, and we'll be able to do it. But there might be a little tiny prize by an unofficial sponsor, but we'll see here soon.
Mac, that's a great idea. And great ideas. Bill had, I don't know if I told you this, another really good idea. And I don't know if you could hook this up for it, but if people wanted to call you and tell you, hey, Mac, I'm going to call you, like, let the call go to voicemail. They can voicemail, and then we can have a segment on the show, kind of like doing radio calls, and they can have a voicemail played. So, like, it could be Logan being like, hey, I'm going to call you, and be like, go, fuck Bill. He fucked me over. Like, that trip's so stupid. Why did he so-and-so? All right, that's all I have, guys. Love the show. Like, good talking to you. And then, boom. Like that was
first time calling on listening.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can save them first. I'm pretty sure I can just download them, right?
Yes. So you download here, and then
I can download it, and then I can put it on. That's a great idea. I love it. Send them on over.
So here's probably the best way to start this. You've watched tonight's podcast. You didn't like anything I said, Logan said, or Max said. Go ahead and let Mac know. Call him, leave a voicemail, and we'll play, whoever has some of the best gripes that the league had with our podcast. Calling. I'm sure Carter might be leaving voicemails, but if anybody else has some gripes with how your team got exposed, maybe we'll play some of those next week. So,
hit it up. I will not answer any of your phone calls. It'd be great. I love it.
Carter's voicemail has to be hilarious. It'd be, hey guys, this is Carter. I was really mad about what you said. Yeah, the monotone.
Yeah. So
But before we close the show out, some interesting news. We did get accepted. I got my thing accepted to be on Spotify now. So now instead of just watching on YouTube, you can actually play it on Spotify if you want to listen to it in the car. But it also has the video. So
awesome.
we are we're out on our podcast got picked up by Spotify.
Timers.
So let's go.
Woo! Let's go back. Max Corner, baby.
But besides that, anything else?
No, that's all I had. Looking for coming on.
I got one thing.
Yes. Yes. Yes, sir.
I do want to do a quick shout out to our sweet boy Bill. Congrats on the job. Hey man, I want to squash the beef. I'm laying it out there right now. I want the beef squash, man. That's all I got.
I love it.
Oh, look at you two.
I love it.
The olive branch, man. I'm extending it.
All right, bye guys.
Yep.
See ya.